We're going live. It's been quite some time. Haven't gone live for a while. Till the students, the viewers of the One Take Show join. What we'll do is I'll talk to myself in the meantime and try and give an intro for Utkarsh. So it's been quite some time before I've done the previous live. It's been a week now, and I've been trying to keep regular with the live. It just takes some time, and it takes a lot of time management to get that done. So yeah, I think I'm trying to keep this as regular as possible, like in a sense make this a weekly thing, to have more and more such fun conversations and make it as casual as fun for people to actually view, because I understand the videos on YouTube or other platforms actually get quite boring, long and lethargic. Even for my own podcast, some conversations can get that. So I try to keep this conversation extremely candid and completely on the nose. So yeah, that's the idea. I'm trying to get that balance where I can make this happen regularly, and today I'm really excited that I can actually talk about this with someone when it comes to time management, life work management, and someone who's been doing incredibly well when it comes to the law school career, because he's been interning with some of the top flight law firms in India. Maybe Sam, you talk about Luthra, everywhere. Like, I can't name it, every one of them. I think he'll name it himself. And he's been working on multiple projects. There's everything incredible about it. And he comes from Manali, Odisha, finally a law student. His name is, of course, Utkarsh. And I think he's here. Utkarsh Trivedi is here. Meanwhile, hi everyone. Hi Jigyasa. Hi Yash. I see your names. I'll try and add Utkarsh as soon as possible. Meanwhile, the technologically handicapped myself would try to figure things out. Alright. There are very interesting stories about Utkarsh. We actually connected on Clubhouse, which is why I tell all the people to please join Clubhouse. Hello, sir. Hello.
Hi, Costa.
Hi,
How
Utkarsh.
are you?
Hi, man. Welcome to Clubhouse.
Thank you so much. In fact, Clubhouse, I would say Instagram Live. But really excited to see you and be on the show with you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you. And it is almost off-putting to actually look at your face and have this conversation.
Exactly.
I'm so used to just listening to your voice. Yes.
That is true. In fact, but again, a downside to that being people can in fact have conversations on Clubhouse being in their own, in their own comfort zone. Whereas,
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, that is one point where a lot of people have in fact, taken advantage of that app and have had discussions related to almost everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And as I was just telling all the people who were here, all the 20 odd people who were there, who are increasing now, is that how incredible you are. And I'll just give you a testimony why I think you're incredible. And I would just not saying this to butter you up.
Oh, no.
The moment you put up the story for this live session, almost 24, 25 people joined in. And this has been the most concentrated increase in my followers ever. So amongst all the other things that you are famous for, which I'm not even sure if you want to talk about, this is absolutely true. People do follow you.
I mean, I would probably say for the good things, of course. But one thing that I've made sure about anything that I've been doing with respect to my internships, with respect to any other social cause that I pursue, is how people perceive it, and if it affects them in a way, or changes their life in some or the other way, even if that includes getting problematic comments from people hating me. I don't think that really kind of defers you from doing what you want to. But again, it just kind of motivates me with respect to be it people coming in asking for advice related to something. Even though I would say I'm nobody, I'm still a law student. I'm in no sphere to in fact guide people. But with whatever little aspect of what I know, how to a few tricks about getting a few internships, how to get the HR to reply to you. I think I would. I've been doing pretty well with respect to those helping those people out.
Yeah, and I've realized over a period of time that conversations amongst people, especially the ones who are rather active in sense where they actually participate in things, make things happen, and go out and do it, these conversations, irrespective of where they come from, actually do contribute a lot. And I mean, as you say, that you've had these opportunities where you've actually helped people out, and obviously, even in this conversation, our intention is to bring about those real, the real aspect of the application process or the internship and everything that goes behind the scene. But I think conversations in general do help people out. And with that, I think you mentioned something very interesting, that when one person sort of supports you, it multifolds the impact of the support as against someone hating on you. So does that inspire you in a way that people really enjoy your company in the sense they get to learn around you?
See, the whole aspect about being in a law school, being at a place where you're learning almost every time, it's not just with your seniors or with your batchmates. I mean, I've learned a lot from my juniors. I've learned a lot about people who've been around me, and people. See, you need to understand one thing about people. They can in fact be the best to you, and eventually it's human nature. I mean, if somebody is excelling, I mean, if I look at somebody, I would probably feel okay, fine, yeah, that person's doing pretty good. But the whole aspect about helping people out is not for a personal gain, is what I may call it. But I think even if they go talk bad about me while they're done taking my help, I think I've helped them in some way, and I think I'm happy with
Yeah, I think that's interesting. So let's start from the very beginning, and this is why I think it's important to the context of this conversation. You've had pretty interesting experiences even before joining the law school, technically. And what was all that like? So what got you into the law school in the
all
very
right, correct. Thank you for that question. So I graduated from school, from Sanskriti in New Delhi, Sanskriti School, New Delhi, in 2016.
beginning?
And I
Yeah,
really wanted to get into the services, that is the defense services. Preferably, in fact,
yeah.
my preference was the Air Force. However,
Mhm.
though things didn't turn out, and in fact didn't pan out the way that I did, I got into the SSB, but on the final day after the medical, I was not shortlisted. For the, in fact, I wasn't recommended, if I may say so, for the Air Force. However, after that, I didn't really have a lot of time, so I had a year on my hand, and I thought, why waste it? Let's do something productive. So I went off to the UK. I was taking up a law course and learning how to fly a little, getting a student pilot license. That was one aspect of what I wanted to do. So that is
Mhm.
how that turned out. And then I came back to India. I had around 2.5 months. I think that's a good enough time to prepare for an examination like the CLAT. I mean, and I kind of took that and got me where I am at the National Law University of Orissa. So that
Right.
is how things panned out initially. And then since then, it's been a riveting journey since in fact 2016, if I may call it.
Right. And why do you say it's a riveting journey? Like, what has happened in the law school that has somehow evolved you or helped you evolve with the process? I think the story is very unique for everyone else, but something that has landed you today in a position where you can actually talk to someone about, let's say, internships. So it must have been constructive overall. So what was that journey like?
Well, initially in law school, being a starry-eyed person getting into a national law school, even if it was what I may call it about 5 years ago, NLU Orissa, except for a JESAP achievement of my seniors, people did not really consider it to be a good law school. Only after a certain point did we start excelling. A lot of citations kept on coming in, and that kind of deterred a lot of my other batchmates who, in fact, left for other law schools. But one thing that you need to understand is it is not really what your law school is, but it is what you make out of it. I mean, I've seen people from a
Yeah.
non-NLU background, crack into one of the best law firms in the country. I've worked with them, and they're brilliant associates and senior associates at that. Uh, but what riveting was about the journey was the fact that there will be people who will be, even your seniors who would be creating, I won't say hurdles, but who would be trying to kind of demotivating you. If you get a corporate internship in your second year, or like a law firm in your second year, they would in fact, tell you that, okay, fine, you know what, you shouldn't go for it because it's not the right time. Um, and it's not just with me, it's with a lot of people. I think also even you would have faced it. People giving advice even when it's not required, even though you're doing something right in life. And I think
Yeah.
despite all of that, the people who've made it, the people who are in fact still excelling in and doing good in life, I think kudos to them as well.
Yeah. Even giving advice, especially when it is not required. Are you describing Clubhouse right now?
Or in fact, people still join the rooms where those conversations are happening. So I won't really blame it on Clubhouse.
Absolutely. No, I think it's pretty interesting, man. And apart from obviously the internship part, what else is it that you did in law school that you genuinely thoroughly enjoyed, like as a process? For example, I love mooting. as a concept, and I've done it almost every year in my law school, and I'm still doing it
Of
in the final
course.
year for some reason. So yeah, what is that those couple of things that you've genuinely enjoyed and you've gained a lot from?
Of course. So, Costa, with respect to that, I don't think I would call myself a mooter at that. I've been to a few debates. In fact, the only way that in fact, debating has been one of the points where I think, which has helped me grow as a person and network around with people a lot. I know you, I know a lot of your batchmates, your seniors at RML, be it people from all across the NLU
Yeah.
fraternity, and that is all because of debating, going to different campuses, meeting different people. Because eventually, at the end of the day, if I get a matter, if I'm litigating, if I get a matter at the Lucknow High Court, it's Lucknow bench, and if you're practicing at the Lucknow bench, I would definitely give you a call and refer the matter to you. And I think that is the beauty of our profession. And I think that credit
Yeah.
definitely goes to the aspect of debating. And another aspect that I would credit debating and not mooting is that you could, in fact, go for 4 debates a month every weekend, but you can't do that with moots,
Yes.
Kaustubh. I mean, that is one point.
Absolutely.
However, another aspect which I think which kind of made me realize the aspect of law that I enjoy, which is commercial law and arbitration, was a program that I did in 2019 in Vienna. So it was the Austrian Arbitration Academy, and it was hosted by the University of Vienna and their Salzburg summer school. Um,
Okay.
and it was a beautiful experience with about people coming in from around 50 countries, and which in fact included not just a majority of one country, people from countries such as Slovenia, Australia, China, a lot of them coming in from all jurisdictions. And that is something which in fact changed my outlook about how they incorporate law in their lives and how they look at, the overall aspect of how they perceive arbitration as a method of dispute resolution.
Right. So was that one event that somehow sparked the interest in commercial arbitration laws, or perhaps was there a series of events? Like, for example, my interest in disputes is from the moots that I've done. So was it like a series of things, or it is just one particular event that has
Uh,
changed things for
I
you?
would say it was a series of events. In fact, because going to Vienna was again not a normal expenditure that I would incur while going around my normal life. So that was something that I had to think about as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
Right.
Apart from that, I think the interest was merely accidental. So I was interning with Hemant Sahai and Associates, their office in Mumbai, and I was assigned the corporate team.
Mhm.
But because there was a lot of demand of the corporate team at that time, I was shifted to the arbitration team, and that was my first corporate law internship at a firm, at a reasonably,
Yeah.
what I would say is a pretty good firm. So
Mhm.
I was in fact demoralized. I mean, why would they shift me out of corporate? Did they not like me? It was just my first day. What really happened? But then I was shifted to the team
Yeah.
of Miss Farnaz Karbhari, and she has been a mentor all throughout, Kaustubh. I mean, being a partner, being the AVP of Vodafone, coming down to HSA, single-handedly spearheading their disputes practice, and being a great
Mhm.
mentor on the side. I think that was one aspect where I, in fact, found out what I really had to do and what
Mhm.
and I think it was her recommendation who in fact wanted me to go to the VIAC, that is the Vienna International Arbitration Center, and hence I
Mhm.
started exploring around areas, and that is where it led me. And I don't think I'm seeing myself do anything except for commercial or arbitration, at least for the near foreseeable future.
Acha, so you're not curious that with all your debating abilities, you would make a brilliant criminal lawyer, turning all the heads
Kaustubh,
around in the courtroom?
an interesting theory there. So I did this moot called the KK Luthra moot. Now, this
Mhm.
is predominantly all about criminal law, and we devoted it
Mhm.
a whole year. And in fact, the people who I did it with was in fact Divyansh and Kartike, my juniors, a bad
Mhm.
junior to me, but I mean amazing people. Uh, However, I
Yeah.
don't think we gave it an entire year because of our moot allocation system. But to be very honest, it just didn't work out. I mean, we did not really qualify into the advanced rounds, and so I think my luck with criminal law might just not be as good as any other field would turn out to be. But again, yes, a lawyer should never say
Right.
no to any incoming income. As I mean, if let's say I get a matter where I have to get bail and the person's offering me an eight-figure amount, I mean, I would obviously not say no. But I mean, that is how it
Right.
works out.
All right. So let's start talking about internships because I think that's what people are majorly here to listen about. And I'm
Definitely.
sure apart from everything else, that's also the standout point about your profile right now that you actually have some intern. Because I understand I personally have interned, which I'm sort of proud of is that I've interned in a litigation chamber for a very long period of time. So I'm very familiar with how litigation works, and that's where I find my future in a way or the other. Your profile is very interesting because you've had an experience in the top flight law firms across the board and with all those experience. So let's start with the first one. What was your first internship?
My first internship was, in fact, the National Human Rights Commission in my first year. And
Okay.
as a lot of people, in fact, don't know it, the NHRC offers a short-term internship program, which is for 15 days, apart from their usual 1 month program. And cost of,
Right.
in fact, to be very honest, with respect to all of my internships, be it NHRC, be it any other internship, be it a competitive law firm internship, the co-interns that I've had, I mean, they've been instrumental because, co-interns are an asset. If they turn out to be good, you might just ace everything. And if they're overly competitive, I mean, everybody's there for the job, right? But uh,
Yeah.
I've met these beautiful people. I mean, they've been my best of friends at in fact every juncture of life. Be it
Yeah.
people from GNLU, be it, I mean, if I may take names, I mean, Purva Anand from GNLU, she's been instrumental in. I mean, we interned together at NHRC in my first internship. And since then, we've been great friends. And that is how things turn out. If you get a good bunch of people with you while you're interning, everything just seems to be very and pretty easy for you. But again, yeah,
Right.
NHRC was my first internship, and I mean that from there is where things started unfurling for, in fact, a career in law, and that is where, in fact, because again, law was not something which I had initially planned to do, right? I got into the CLAT. I thought I'd probably take the CLAT, and things worked out that way. But I think NHRC was the place where I first thought, okay, fine, this place is in fact something where you can make differences in people's lives.
Right, absolutely. And I think from the competition's point of view, also, I think I've said this before where you were in the room as well. I think law is one of the very rare fields which gives you an alternative to competition, which is collaboration. And collaboration as either law students or as legal professionals brings good in general to most of the people, right? And with that, I think my first question would be I mean, as I get into that conversation, listening on everyone, what all law firms have you interned in? If you could tell us for the audience. And all right. So my second question will come after that. So what
All
all law
right.
firms have you interned in?
So I've interned with HSA. I've interned with them thrice because I think I
Okay.
love working with them. My first draft that I prepared was for that law firm, and it was an amazing experience. I've worked with Ketan. I've worked with Cam. I'm currently working with Sam as a trainee. I've worked with SNR as well, with the Bombay office and the disputes team. And I think that's
Right.
that's that's it for law firms. I've had a few other experiences that are upcoming, but I think we'll
Yeah.
get that there when I in fact start off.
I know the experiences that you're talking about, by the way, but like I'll just let that be right now. So let's talk about your internships, right? The first question with internship, obviously, with any of these top flight firms is, and I'm assuming most of them happen around third, fourth, fifth year.
Correct. Yes. I mean, HSA happened to me on when I was finishing my second year. And
Okay.
all of these other law firms, in fact, even LKS, where I interned in June, have been during the lockdown. I mean, all of these firms have been during the lockdown. I've been interning virtually with them, even though that takes away the whole essence. But I
Yeah.
mean, just one point that I would in fact tell everybody who's listening in, who in fact wants to make a career in law, be it in a chamber, be it with a law firm, was a word of advice that a partner gave me. I want a person in my team with whom I can let my client be alone in a room. And I think that really
Right.
struck with me because it's not just the knowledge of law, it is how you present yourself, it is what your soft skills are, how you would want to, take up life, or, how would you have a conversation with a high stake client because you're working in the top five. Clients won't be, people who would be called small scale businessmen. You'd be, in fact, dealing with high stakes matters. And that is an advice that I
Yeah.
think has been instrumental in how I've shaped around my internships.
Wonderful. So when we talk about all these top right law firms, one of the biggest concern and the first concern obviously is that our application does not get processed,
Correct.
or that we are not successfully able to reach whoever that it is we are trying to reach. So when we talk about the application process, let's take it step by step. What is your process and how have you been successful through it?
All right. So with respect to the application process, yes, but then there's a trick. There's a trick to everything, Kaustubh. I mean, the trick here is to be as candid as possible. You could and again, your soft skills come to play here as well. What people do is that they send out a generalized cover letter, a generalized CV, and a generalized mail body to the HR. Which is in fact mostly directed to the bulk HR team. Email addresses such as hr@lawfirm.com or .in. And what that does is it lands your email, it lands your application with a bunch of emails where you might just not even be the mail won't even be opened, if I may call it that way.
Mhm.
I mean, even if you're excelling on
Right.
the top of your class, you have massive and brilliant internships, you've got amazing reference letters, that won't help you because you're not getting noticed. The hack to figure that out
Mhm.
is to in fact get in touch or get the contact details of the particular HR of that particular office. Now, there
Okay.
are firms such as Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas who have a generalized HR email ID for every office. You've got CAM Delhi, you've got CAM
Mhm.
Bombay, HR, that is. Um, and if
Mhm.
you get in touch with, or if you get an email ID of, in fact, the person who the mail would be referred to, right, that makes a lot of difference.
Mhm.
But what I, in fact, tend to
Right.
do is to contact the particular
Mhm.
partner who I would like to work under, or work with, in fact, at that particular law firm. Um, and in fact, you
Okay.
can you can take that trick up, and in fact, it works most of the time. I mean, I won't call it a trick, but just a way of presenting yourself and to show the particular person that yes, I am interested in working with your team because these are the deals that you're doing, and I'm interested in getting to know the contours of this particular application or how to file this petition or how I would like to know more about it. Um, and you can approach these partners because they have a direct say. And after you've submitted your application, you can tell them, okay, fine, I submitted my application to this person at this time, and I'm really interested in working with your team. And Costa, you won't believe me, but 9 of the 10 times I've been allotted the particular team that I wanted with that particular partner. So that really helps out a lot.
Yeah.
And there have been events where the partner hasn't replied to me, but the very next day I've got a mail from the HR saying that my
Mhm.
application has been confirmed. And on the induction, I've been allotted the team of that partner. So, in fact,
Yeah.
that really works out if you present yourself well. Because see, sending
Mhm.
applications in bulk is something what every law student does. You need to gain an edge
Mhm.
some way or the other, either directly.
Yeah.
But then again, also another problem that we have is we don't really respect the boundaries of that particular partner or the person who we're contacting, be it an associate, in fact. Um,
Mhm.
we should always learn how to go ahead and respect their boundaries. If they're responding well, only then go ahead and do that. Have a small little conversation with them before you go on and ask them for an internship or tell them about yourself. So that is how it
Mhm.
works out. In fact, just a first message where it's a 10-liner where you're describing yourself and then asking them for an internship more or less looks like you're in fact going to that person not for an internship but you're literally begging them to so that you can show that off on your CV. So I mean, yeah, that is how I approach
Right.
these firms, and most of the times they've replied back.
Mhm. I think one of the questions that have come up in the chat as well, and what I was also going to ask you is that you're referring to cold emails, right? Or is it that you approach these partners separately through some other event and then build a relationship or a rapport and then email them later on, which I think is something that is more popular as a method. But are you suggesting cold emails to all the partners where
Not
you
really.
have a particular format?
No,
Okay.
not really. The whole aspect about taking into consideration how to contact that particular partner. Um, so let me be very
Mhm.
candid with how I landed the SAM internship. Now I'm working with Mr. Tejas Karya's team. Mr. Tejas Karya is the international arbitration head. In fact, the arbitration head at SAM, and I'm directly working under his team. Um, I was in fact at a webinar where he was speaking about an aspect of interim reliefs and arbitration. And that particular
Mhm.
conversation and that webinar also had Mr. Ritin Rai and Mr. Nakul Diwan, again stalwarts of arbitration and councils
Mhm.
in India. After the
Mhm.
webinar ended, I managed to get his email address and I wrote to him regarding that particular webinar and a few questions that I had. And again,
Mm-hmm.
people reply when you show enthusiasm onto with your aspect, they reply to you. And
Yeah,
I, in
they
fact,
do.
had a conversation with him on that aspect. It was a bunch of 2, 3 emails that we exchanged. And after that, yes, I in fact managed to land an internship there through that conversation. So, I mean, what we need to see is that it's not just us who are looking for internships. Even they're looking for people to hire. And if they get a perfect candidate that they feel might be a good fit at their team as an intern, they will definitely, go in for that. However, yes, the demand supply
Yeah.
gap is always there. They don't really need as many
Mm-hmm.
interns who all apply. But again, that is what something that you need to do to stand out. And that has worked out well for me. And in fact, for everybody else who would
Right.
take this initiative up.
Mhm. Absolutely. And at this point where since we are talking about this, I think I'll just share a quick experience of mine. So I get a lot of messages from people who ask me, Wasab, how do you get guests for your show? Like you get those partners on your podcast, and how do you manage to do that? And do you know them, or how do you have the network? I just tell them, bro, it's very genuine. See, my understanding is that whenever, let's say for internship also, you're reaching out to someone for an internship, you need to show them that first of all you have a very significant amount of interest in whatever they're doing and they bring it to the table, and you also have a similar, let's say, the line of thought, a similar area of interest, and you want to learn from it. And second, that you actually show what you've told, respecting the boundaries, right? So when it comes to that, you need to show how civil you are, how well behaved you are, how professional you are, in a sense. Like your professionalism need to reflect from your emails, from your messages, from your cold messages as well. And once that goes, I think no senior ever just randomly throws any message out. There everyone respects. I think these are the so-called softer skills where you have the professionalism, the ability to interact, the ability to reach out and to have that kind of a conversation, right? So in this form of a transaction, it is important to learn those basic skills. And once we have done that, I think it is not very difficult to reach out to people, to say the least. Landing internship is, I think, something that you've said is definitely effective.
Correct. Kaustubh, in fact, another aspect which people in fact have taken up and have gotten internships are with respect to how they network with the partners that they've worked with. Because every
Mhm,
partner has their friends or has worked with every other partner at law firms in the same practice area. If I'm working at, let's
mhm,
say, Khaitan, the partner at Khaitan might have, in fact, would have worked with another partner who's, let's say, working at another law firm. If I'm
mhm.
doing good, if the partner recognizes my work, if they like it, or even a senior associate for that matter, or even an associate, they can definitely refer you and tell their friends at the other law firm to in fact take your application and screen it. At least what that will do is that it will get your application out of the bulk email and put it onto the table of the partner or the HR. At least that will, and from there you can definitely take it forward. If your CV has the merit, you're in. I mean, there's nothing stopping you, and that chain could continue. That cycle could continue.
Right, right. So let me get this straight, right? None of your big law firm internships have come from the internship placement cell in your college.
Oh no, none of them. In fact, I'm a part of the recruitment committee in the college right now. So for us, it there's a difference between the internship committee and the recruitment committee. The recruitment committee is an elected body that comes into place in your fourth year, and it goes on till you graduate.
Mhm,
So I'm a member of the recruitment committee.
mhm.
But no, none of my internships have
Right.
come through the internship or the placement committee.
So that actually allows me to ask you questions on networking now. So you've already given me an impression as to how you go about the networking, right? And there's always more to learn about it, as in when we do it and the experience teaches us itself. But let's say that you've watched a particular partner in a webinar, you've reached out, but that also means that you know that this partner works in this particular area and he is good at that particular area. You want to work in that team, and you must have done a background research, which I think is very important for any firm, right? How do you do that to build a foundation for your networking, from the very basic? How do you go about that?
So first of all, what everybody here needs to, in fact, take in is if let's say I'm interested in, what, Kaustubh, I'll give you a very real life example. Okay, let's say I'm a big time butter chicken fanatic. Okay, and if there's a food
Mhm.
fest going on, is going to happen, then I will definitely look for
Yeah,
the stalls or the restaurants who are going to be serving good butter chicken. Same, if
right.
there's a webinar happening, I would definitely look out for, let's say, if arbitration is something related to arbitration. Is there something happening? And if there is, who's going to be the speaker? If it's, let's say, Mr. Vyapak
Yeah.
Desai from NDA, I would definitely reach out to him. I would definitely attend that webinar. If there's anybody
Mhm.
who's, if let's say I'm interested in criminal law, and if it's Mr. Siddharth Luthra is coming on, I will definitely try to in fact take that up. And in fact, one thing that I would again take up, I think I was in my second year, and I was just finishing my internship with Mr. Salman Khurshid. Um,
Yeah.
and there was an event that was happening where or he took all of his interns, which was being organized by Mr. Siddharth Luthra. Um, and
Mhm.
there were a few Honorable Supreme Court judges as well. Mr. Khurshid was the keynote
Mhm.
speaker. And it was only during the high
Yeah.
tea where Mr. Luthra was interacting with people, and I, like a shameless person, goes up to him and tells him that you're a brilliant lawyer. I've
Mhm.
in fact read your arguments in a lot of cases, and I would like to intern with you. And Mr.
Mhm.
Luthra looked at me and he's like, "Yeah, sure, come whenever you want." And I was like, "Okay, fine." And
Wonderful.
yeah, and that is how that worked out. And there were around 10 interns who were interning with me at Mr. Khurshid's
Mhm.
office at that time. And I mean, they all looked at me and like, okay, what just happened? And the very next day, I mean, I did go. So I saw an opportunity because Mr. Khurshid's chambers was the one who were responsible for sending out the photographs of the event. And the very next day, the
Right.
photographs had come out. Now,
Mhm.
Mr. Lokendra Malik, who's a senior associate at his office, who witnessed all of this happening, he sent me with those photographs with the PN कि तुम ही लेके जाओ Mr. Luthra के office में. And that is what I did
Right.
in Mr. Luthra's office in Sundarnagar. We went there and I gave it to him. He recognized me and he's like, "Arey, you're to here." I was like, "Yes, sir, but I'm currently with Mr. Khurshid. I would definitely like to join you from the next month, from next month." And he's like, "Haan, definitely." And that is
Oh,
how that worked out. I mean, I still don't have an acceptance email from Mr. Siddharth Luthra's office, but that is how I, in fact, got that internship.
wonderful, man. I think even if I play that story twice more, it would be just as interesting. All the third time it is that we think about the challenges that actually go behind this, the fact that you actually need a lot of courage to reach out to the seniors, let alone have this kind of a conversation. And I'm sure the rewards that come with it, the interest that you have shown in commercial arbitration or let's say any of those fields, and you want to manifest that with your performances in law firms, they need a certain amount of courage, and that comes with the input that you give and the fearful actions that you do, all these attempts that you make, and they come alive. I think so. When we talk about those internships, right now you let's say have gotten an internship, and now you have a period of internship with you in your hands. How do you perform your internship? Like I always have this question, and I always ask such questions with people that okay, what in your impression is a good internship? And is it just the learning experience, or is it also the performance-based aspect?
Not at all.
So, what in your impression would be a good internship?
Of course, the answering that, I think a good internship is not just where you get good amount of work. A good internship is
Mhm.
where you imbibe and learn about how to present yourself. A place where gives
Mhm.
you mentorship opportunities. Because see, there could be a law firm or tier one law firm who could give you work, not care about it, and then when you
Mhm.
submit it 2 days later, the person would just bash you out and tell you what work have you submitted. Whereas there
Mhm.
would be another tier one who would give you work. They would, follow up with you. They would ask you to screen share, show them how you're doing, or in fact, put them on a GDoc, put out their
Yeah.
comments, their reviews on that particular
Mhm.
application or that particular petition, whatever that you're drafting or working on, and then give out
Mhm.
reviews after that. Um, so
Yeah.
I think it mostly depends on which team or how the environment is of that particular team that you're working with. But fortunately, and in fact, I would say I haven't been subjected to any internship where I've had where I've received a went down
Mhm.
from, let's say, any member or who's in fact not been there to help me. I mean, I was interning with another law firm. In fact, it was S&R. There was an associate, Sonal Bhargav, who sat with
Mhm.
me. I was doing the NLIU INADR at that time. Now, this was during the internship. She sat down with me and the team, and she gave out points of how to mediate, how to be a negotiator, because she was, in fact, the second best mediator at one of the editions of NLIU. So when
Right.
people and associates of a firm do that, in fact, it does not really tell you the culture about that particular firm. If you might join them
Yeah.
later on as a legal associate, but even how that firm would in fact cater to you and your growth, not just as a lawyer, but with other ancillary things around it.
Mhm. Right, absolutely, man. And I think I can to some extent relate because when I got into law school, I had absolutely no one to guide me anywhere. There was no one in my family anywhere. Like I think, like most of the law students out there, the situation is same. But fortunately enough, I found this one chamber that I'm interning under right now, Mr. Akash Prasad. He's an advocate in Allahabad, Lucknow bench, and completely changed my life. Like for 1.5 years that I've been almost 1.5 years that I've been working here, every part of mentorship has already happened in a way and is happening every day. I've never
Exactly,
imagined that a senior would ask you to sit down and tell him what are your plans for the future, what are you going to do, and tell me how can I help you out.
exactly,
And
Kaustav.
this is some simply off-putting, like as a law student, right? So,
Definitely.
but let me ask you something else. This is something perhaps a question that is meant for let's say senior associate or someone who's already working in a law firm who can assess how a good intern performs. But since you've already interned in so many places, I'm sure you must have seen the difference and you've seen what a good performance looks like and what bad performance looks like. And let me preface this by saying that I understand that interns are not expected to know a lot. They're not expected to be as good as, let's say, the senior associates or the partners. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But what they're expected to have is be present, be interested, be curious, be participative, and be responsive, to say the least, and be responsible,
Correct.
right? So, in that perspective, what has been your experience like, and what do you think is a good performance in an internship?
Right, with respect to that, Kaustav, I think the people that I've worked with have all of them have been brilliant interns, brilliant people at that, and I think it's been I've been very lucky at that because I've not just had people who've worked on their own presentation, but have in fact helped me figure out my own presentation at that, be it at a tier one law firm, where we're competing literally neck throat competition with each other. Um, but again, a good internship comes out eventually when you feel that you've learned something out of it. Right at the end of the day, when the internship is done, it's not just a blank certificate that you have. In fact, a certificate which is signed by, let's say, an A level law firm partner at that. Because then it really doesn't matter if you've learned something or not, because eventually when you're being interviewed for a role, that will come out. If you're being asked, okay, fine, so what did you do at this internship and what is this? Can you explain this particular provision to me? And you would have no answer altogether because the experience wasn't good, you did
Mm-hmm.
not learn a lot. I think that is the sole
Mm-hmm.
metric that I think is there with respect to a good internship or a bad internship, and especially when we're
Right.
at this virtual era where everything is in fact through the screen or through the phone. I would definitely say being very punctual is what matters the most. Um, Another thing that has in fact changed is that now we don't really take into consideration what the personal work-life boundary of, let's say, even an intern or an associate would be. Because you would be getting calls at even 9 p.m., 10 p.m., in fact, even 11 p.m. to cull out a piece of legislation
Mm-hmm.
or, do a little research. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there would be people who would just look at that notification and ignore it. But then there would be people who, even if they're in bed, they would jump out straight away, and even at 11:30 would, finish that part and give it out. And
Mm-hmm.
that is what, in fact, makes you stand out. Um, and
Right.
that is one thing where you could in fact also be like, okay, fine, look, my work hours are from 7 to or from 9 to 7. I'm not going to work at 9:30. I'm going to tell the person I didn't see the message and I'll see it tomorrow morning directly. uh, but again, the way to stand out is by replying to that message and working on that for the next 30-45 minutes, so that you stand
Mm-hmm.
out, as I'm reiterating.
Absolutely. And I think for all the viewers who are watching this right now, please feel free to share your questions. I'll definitely bombard Utkarsh with all your questions and he'll have to answer them.
Of course,
I think with
definitely.
that, when we talk about virtual internships, I think you've already hinted on it. But what is the difference that you've observed from the real life internship
Oh,
or in person
massive,
internship against
massive.
virtual one? Like, what are the difference? Yeah, please.
uh,
Batao.
so physical internships, again, they're more stimulating, if I may call it. The associates and you as an intern get a better idea of how the law firm works. If that place might be the
Mhm.
place for you, if you would, think of applying for a callback, if you would think of applying for an assessment opportunity there, or even accepting an offer if you're given one. But that
Mhm.
becomes little difficult when you're at an aspect where where it is not physical, where you're sitting on on your desktop or on your laptop and working. Um,
Mhm.
but again, as I may put it this way, right now when opportunities are scarce, people are not getting let internships be. People are not getting to even attend classes because of the dearth of technology in a lot of parts of our country. If you're getting anything,
Mhm.
I would say grab onto it. Anything and everything is a learning experience in this area of law, unless and until it is not exploitative in any way, because that is a big
Mhm.
no-no for anybody. Um, but I think yeah, that is how it is currently. But then what I really feel is that while you're interning at a law firm, you are not physically, that I mean, you cannot really walk into the room of an or the cabin of a senior associate or the cubicle
Yeah.
of an associate and directly talk to them, right? Because they might just be busy with
Mhm.
something or the other. Here you can directly text them.
Yeah.
They can get back to you whenever they're free. They can get you. They can take you on a Google Meet or a Teams call. You can directly interact with everybody at once. In fact, multiple times in a day. And I
Mhm.
think that really is important, and that is the one thing that I think has changed. Um, for
Mhm.
me, I think it has become these people have become more approachable, if I may call it that. I mean, that is just for me, and
Okay.
that is what I feel. That is what I think is what it is.
Right. Right. I think Sakshi asks you a question where she asks you what are the skills that we should use or we should work on in order to, let's say, ace this internship or stand out in a way or the other.
As I said, Sakshi, there's no one way of doing it, but there are little things that add up. If the HR has asked you to
Mhm.
send out a reporting email every day at 9 o'clock, send it out at 9 o'clock.
Mhm.
You don't delay it. You
Yeah.
might even send it out at 8:59, but don't go until 9:01
Mhm.
because again, that even if it doesn't look bad, if I may call it look bad, just a minute, but it makes you stand out
Mhm.
again. And if you're, let's say, getting work at night, you're still up, you still have some bandwidth to perform that particular task, go ahead and do that. Tell the associate that yes, I'm interested in this work. And another thing, Kaustubh, that people
Right.
don't really realize is that, let's say, you're allotted to the disputes team, but you're getting work from the capital markets team. People directly say no,
Yeah.
even if they have no work. No, they would just go on and tell them, look, I'm interning with the disputes team. I can't take your work, even if
Mhm.
you're sitting idle at home doing nothing. What essentially you should do
Mhm.
is take work, but tell them that, look, I'm with the disputes team. If I get work from them, I will take that as priority. But till the time I don't have work, I
Mhm.
will try to, take up as much as I can and get things easier and make
Mhm.
things easier for you as much as I can till your intern, till the person who's interning with you gets a little less burdened.
Mhm.
And I think that makes you stand
Right.
out as well.
Mhm. I think communication becomes an essential part of the
Definitely,
internship.
definitely
I
does.
think what people really find difficult in internship, which I think I've also made some mistakes in the past, is that not communicating properly where I am, what work I have, and how I'm going to go about it, or what problems I'm facing. And I think when we have that conversation with a senior, they understand more or less. They always understand,
Definitely they
and
do.
they try to solve your
Yeah,
problem.
they've been there. They've been at the exact same spot a few years ago. They know what things go on in your mind. Even when you send out an internship application, they know how it feels when you don't get a response, let alone get rejected. So that is
Yeah.
what I think is there. Sakshi, I hope I've answered your question there.
Yeah, Sakshi, please feel free to follow up with your question. I'll definitely read them out. I think I have a question from Sudhanshu. Sudhanshu says, how can you bag the first internship and can you share what was in your cover letter and whom did you send the mail? All right. So cover letter is something that I'm definitely going to pick up here. You shared a post on LinkedIn, I think, where you were talking about making your cover
Definitely,
letter more
definitely, Kaustubh.
personalized, right? Yeah. So if you could tell us a bit of a secret tips or something that you worked on,
Definitely,
and
Kaustubh.
come on.
I think
Cover letter.
that LinkedIn post has garnered more than six-figure views, and I've had a very, very, very difficult time into responding to everybody who sent out their responses. And that LinkedIn
Yeah.
post, I've tagged my cover letter that I've used for my internship still, Sam. In fact, that cover letter was the
Mm-hmm.
exact same cover letter that I sent out for this internship with Sam. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but what I really feel is that your cover letter shouldn't be as generic as you're sending it out to almost every law firm. It needs to be personalized. Now, personalized is what I feel.
Mm-hmm.
You should highlight the particular area that you're targeting. You're wishing to work for.
Mm-hmm.
And apart from that, you should also look into the aspect where you can describe what deals that the team is working on. A lot of it is available publicly on public domain. And you can take that in, you can put
Yeah.
that in your cover letter that, okay, fine, look, I know we know that you've been working with this particular deal with this client. It's available in public domain. I would definitely like to try my hands on and, get more knowledge about this particular aspect of international arbitration, how the seat venue debate works, how an interim order is given
Mhm.
out in an international commercial arbitration. So I think that becomes an important aspect too, Kaustav, into personalizing your cover letter.
Right. Right. And as far as the question about whom did you mail this, I think we've already sort of answered this. So, Sudhanshu, if in case you want to look at this video once I post it in either IGTV or YouTube, if it gets downloaded in that matter. So, please do watch that part. I think we've sort of answered that. Krishna, I would request you to please write your question down. I am slightly scared of taking more speakers on this because I'm not sure how Instagram works. All right. I have Radhas Pragya. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Could you please tell us the tips to get top litigation internship? Do you have an experience with litigation, which I know you do? And how do you go that litigation vibe in that internship space?
First off, I think again, this aspect wouldn't have been touched. It kind of slipped out of my mind. A very interesting thing that you can in fact follow, everybody who wants to get into the chamber or intern with somebody who's regularly appearing in, let's say, the Delhi High Court or the Supreme Court. Guys, the cause list is available online publicly for everybody to view. And the cause
Sure.
list has the mobile number of the clerk or of an associate who's working at that particular chamber. Now, let's say Mr.
Yeah.
Raman Lekhi is appearing. Now, that particular cause list would either have Mr. Lekhi's number of his clerk or of his associate. And a little research, you could
Mhm.
search that number up on Truecaller. Whatever name pops up, you can put that on LinkedIn, see who the person is. If he's an associate, you can directly give him a call or drop him a message, or in fact, source his email address
Mhm.
out of somewhere and send out an application. Because these
Yeah.
litigation chambers or these lawyers don't have an HR, but it is the
Mhm.
clerk, in fact, who's the backbone. And if you can call
Mhm.
the clerk up, talk to him in a very nice way. Because see, I believe in talking to everybody in a very nice way. Be it the clerks in a law firm, be it the
Absolutely.
guard, be it anybody. I mean, that essentially
Yeah.
puts you out and makes you stand out from everybody in the office. And it's not just something
Mhm.
which I do for getting or standing out for the internship, but general life advice as well. I've always treated everybody around me on the equal pedestal. I mean, I would talk to the CEO of a company the same way that I would talk to a person who comes to help my mother
Mhm.
in the chores in the house. So I think
Right.
that is one aspect, Kaustubh, of getting a litigation
Absolutely.
internship, which I may put it that way.
No, this is perhaps one of the most wonderful answers that I've received ever, man. Like, this is brilliant strategy. I mean, I was slightly aware of this, but I think a lot of people do not know about this, that the cause list actually has all the details. And irrespective of this, you can actually find the details of someone. Let's say if someone is an additional solicitor or someone who's appointed at some post, you can find their details, at least their email ID or their assistants or their legal clerks or whatever. I think you can
Kaustubh,
reach out
in
through
fact,
that. All those.
the people who are here, again, a brilliant platform. The Supreme Court Bar Association also has an association for clerks. And that clerk association
Yeah.
also has a PDF of the directory of the clerk with almost every AOR or senior lawyer in the court, with their contact details, with
Yeah.
the contact details of the clerk as well. If you want to intern with any
Mhm.
senior lawyer, any AOR at the Supreme Court, you can definitely reach out to those people. I mean, I have an internship pending with the current Attorney General, and I got that through approaching their clerk. Uh, and I think that really
Mhm.
works out really well because they can, in fact, take that particular PDF and put it right in front of the lawyer. And all that the lawyer needs to do is, have a look at it and approve it. So you've skipped the entire
Mhm.
queue and you're directly in front, your CV is directly in front of the person that you're applying to. And I think that is a brilliant strategy
Yeah.
that people can adopt as well.
Perfect. I think what we're doing is we're shifting the queue from one channel to the other. This is a very dangerous conversation. Okay. We have a question by Krishna. I think Krishna asks, how can you convert an internship into a PPO? Ah, this is a wonderful
I
question.
think
You are already a legal trainee here. You've extended your internship for quite some time in SAM. So yes, sir. Please answer this
I would
question.
honestly say, Kaustubh, I won't be fit enough to answer this question till a particular point where I receive it. Touch wood. But again, what I can in fact put out is I can translate that question into saying how to perform well at an internship so as to get hired. Um,
Mhm.
be very upfront about with the team. that really matters, because I can, in fact,
Right.
I've worked at a law firm. I won't name them, of course. It's from the pool of internships that I've done. But then there was a law firm where I did not want to work at, even though it was a top tier firm. But I did not like the work
Mhm.
culture. I did not like what work was being assigned, and hence I did not apply for a callback, even though I would have done well on my internship. Um,
Mhm.
but again, what you need to understand is that it's not just a law firm which matters. It's not just a six-figure salary that matters, but your peace of mind and what you. I mean, it is for sure that if you're at a tier one law firm, you would be spending hours on your chair, but at least spend those
Yeah,
hours, get that backache while you're in fact doing something interesting and something that you're liking, and not just something that you're doing for the money. Because eventually, after a point, that
yeah,
motivation will go away, and you'll just be left stranded at a point where you won't have any idea what to do next. So I think that becomes an important point,
absolutely.
Kaustubh.
Right. I think this is one of the most realistic form of expectation that one can set for a law firm, that the long working hours is going to be there irrespective of wherever you
Correct,
work.
correct.
It is the point of like you might as well enjoy working that long. If you're invested in the project, in the case, in whatever is happening, you won't mind working long hours, right? You would really mind working long hours when you're not interested in working there.
Definitely, Kaustubh.
Okay,
That's what I feel about it, yes.
perfect. So let me take one more question. I think this is from this is from Bhaskar. Nice, another friend
Okay.
from Clubhouse. If someone is mentoring me or explaining me, always stands out. And if you find people even in the second or third firms, I feel one should always look forward to that. Yeah, what do you think about this? Like, is it? I mean, I completely agree with it. I think any senior mentor that you can find, irrespective of what tier firm they're in, any such important guidance really works. What do you think
Of
about
course,
this?
it does. I mean, it doesn't just work with respect to one area, or even I think this works with almost every other aspect of life. If I can be
Mhm.
philosophical at that, because there could be you could receive guidance from a lot of people, from various aspects of how you're living your life. There could be a monk telling you how to be peaceful. There could be a senior partner telling you how to do the due diligence, or there could be a taxi driver
Yeah.
teaching you how to drive. So deriving
Mhm.
inspiration and motivation from almost everybody that you meet, or in fact taking guidance, not looking at irrespective how well in the social ladder are they when compared to you, because everybody has one particular skill that they've mastered, and
Mhm.
you should always look forward, because you cannot be a jack of all trades, right? Um, but
Mhm.
again, learning everything out of where you can survive by yourself. Let's say if you're stranded at a particular place, and that is
Mhm.
what an outlook to life should be. Uh, Taking things from
Right.
everybody as much as you can, and putting it out to use.
Absolutely. Sampurna asks you, how do you bring credibility to your work? I think you've answered this in a way or the other, but if you could quickly
Of
recap
course,
that.
credibility to your work comes in. Let's take a very theoretical aspect to that. Okay, let's say you've been allotted work by a member of the firm, and you don't really know how to go about it. It's the first time that you've been given out that work. Use authorities. What I do is I go and use a research paper on that particular aspect. Now, more than the research paper, the citations that the person has used help me. Because on getting to that
Right.
research paper, there are 100 other things that the person would have read with respect to that one, but to come to that conclusion, and those 100 things will help
Mhm.
you with respect to that particular point of law or that particular proposition. And that is how, in fact, you get credibility to your work. And Kaustubh, again, when you're in your
Absolutely.
first week of an internship, people don't take you seriously because they don't know how you work. But
Mhm.
after the first week, if
Absolutely.
you've put
Yeah.
out brilliant quality work, your phone will not stop buzzing.
Mhm.
Let me tell you that. Your phones will not stop buzzing. You will have to tell people or the lawyers to, in fact, give you some time that you don't have bandwidth, that you can't take more work. I mean, I've known
Mhm.
people who've had three lawyers from the same firm, from the same team, in fact, calling him at the same time for work, and the person's taken up the work, and then he hasn't been able to complete them on time. If you're taking work, take work from one person, finish it, and even in course of that, if you've had to
Mhm.
refuse work from two other people, do that. Because if you take work from all
Right.
three and you're not able to finish even one of them or give quality work, you know that won't look good on your worksheet, because eventually the remarks won't be fine and won't be good on your worksheet at the end of the day. So I think yes, of course,
Right.
the
So,
credibility in fact comes out from that.
right. Wonderful, man. I think both aspects of it, the citation part as well as this part, shows how sincere you are, and that
Definitely.
sincerity needs to translate to you. All right. There's another question by Pramita, and she asks if you suffer from imposter syndrome while interning in the top tier firm. I think I won't say imposter syndrome. It's the determination of the same requires a rather clinical study. But do you face those symptoms of self doubt, self questioning when you're working with a top tier law
Let me tell you something. I mean, this has happened only a few days ago. Um,
firm?
there was a draft that was given out to me by a senior associate, and it was a very important. In fact, I just submitted it today. I was working on it for the last 10 days, and now that
Hmm.
draft had a few errors, if I may call it, in my perspective. I thought they were errors. So what I went on to do was that I changed the entire scenario that I thought was an error. And then 3 days later, I
Hmm.
talked to the senior associate where he's asking me what is the progress. And I tell him that there was this
Hmm.
major flaw that I changed. Now the senior
Yeah.
associate takes a 3 second pause and he's like, that is not the change. That is not in fact a change. That is what we take as a considerable policy at our firm and we are pretty firm about it. So now what really happened was I had to rechange everything to what it was before. uh, Not really imposter syndrome, but then again, don't try to be oversmart and think that okay, fine. I think this such a silly error has been done by three other senior lawyers who are working at such a top tier law firm. How could this be? I'm going to be the one who's going to change that. So before you take any such step, it is definitely good to talk to the person and ask them before being a hero on yourself and changing it all throughout. I won't say it is an imposter syndrome where you're doubting yourself, but also don't be somebody who is too confident about his skills and goes ahead and
Yeah.
changes the entire pattern of a draft. So I think that's just my two bits
Right.
on something that I've learned.
Yeah, I think because that overconfidence also comes from a sense of
Definitely.
insecurity, and I think there needs to be. I mean, if I could give my 2 cents on this issue, I think one of the major uh, ways through which you can overcome those symptoms or those effects of imposter syndrome, to say the least, is to communicate, to have that conversation with your senior, let them know that you're willing to work. It's just that you're not aware of how to. Let's say, for example, a first or second year, third year law student, or even a final year law student for that matter, might not know how to go about the cases, read the
Definitely.
cases properly, right?
Definitely.
And it's better to ask your senior than to pretend
Yeah.
or to doubt yourself and not work at all.
Exactly. In fact, right now where I've in fact taken up this traineeship at SAM, they've been gracious enough to extend my internship. The only advice that I received after the first one ended was to be communicative and to ask people because what I thought was pestering them for every small thing might just turn out to be counterproductive for me. But eventually, it has
Mhm.
turned out well. Is what I really feel. And another aspect about respect, you should respect everybody, everyone who's giving you work. Even let's say at A0, who's a recent pass
Mhm.
out, he's learning as well, or the person's learning as well. Uh, if he gives out some
Mhm.
wrong advice or if he tells you something which is not correct, do not, do not cuss him or think bad about him because again that person is probably somebody that you can relate to the most because he's just been there a
Yeah.
year ago. That is where he got this
Mhm.
got that particular job, and he could be the person who could in fact not guide you on the law part, if I may call it that way, but can tell you the contours of
Mhm.
getting that PPO right throughout and how to in fact go about it. And I think that is what worked out for my case. My the A0 that I've been working with, in fact, two of them have been super
Mhm.
instrumental in working this internship out. And I think that
Mhm.
again, I think that's just been where I've been lucky, getting brilliant co-interns even at
Mhm.
this internship here, and amazing people to work under, in fact, work with. So yeah, I think that's a plus one to take out.
Wonderful. Okay, so up next we have Yashika. Guys, we will be limiting the questions because we always have to conclude this conversation more than an hour, and I won't be able to download it off the Instagram, which I don't want
Okay.
to happen.
Right.
Okay, all right. No, it's okay. I think I'll figure something out. All right, Yashika. From which year should we basically go for interning in the law firms and how to decide which tier to apply? I think we have sort of answered this,
I'll take
but
it.
do you think is there a set
Yeah.
pattern? Is there a set pattern which year should you apply?
I don't really think so because Again, yes, there is a norm that you should be interning with corporate law firms or law firms in general after your first or your second year. But in fact, probably ahead and work on that. How well have you molded yourself onto that particular aspect
Mhm.
of law that you're applying to in a firm? Let's say I'm really interested in let's say competition law, and there are only a few firms in
Mhm.
India that practice that particular law pretty well. Um,
Mhm.
then I will definitely go ahead and talk to them about it, about the same. I would apply to them. I would definitely reach out to them in some particular way, even if I'm not
Mhm.
here. And if they see that, yes, I am doing
Yeah.
pretty well at that, they will definitely reach out to me. So I don't think there's a
Mhm.
particular year that you should matter, but yes, definitely after your
Mhm.
second year.
Okay, perfect. So there's no some set pattern that in the first year you're supposed to intern in the NGO, second year you find junior
Definitely,
lawyers, third year you find law
how
firm.
you there are options for you, Costa. There are options available. I mean, even in your first year, if a person knows how to go to the district court and file a suit, or even how to file a bail matter, I think I don't know to do. I don't know how to do that. And if a first year goes to district court and does that, I think kudos to that person, because he's just cleared the first practical step on getting bail for a client that he might be pursuing after the next 5 years. So, or even person
Right.
who's taking up a PUCL internship, the person might just be working for civil liberties at a particular point, and I think it's just the first step to
Yeah, perfect. We have Yash asking what should be the ratio of the specialized things in comparison to the other thing. Ratio to the specialized things in comparison to the other thing. Um, okay, I am not sure if I can understand this question entirely, but Utkarsh, do you understand?
I think what he's trying to ask is how much should you focus more on the specializations rather than the entire aspect of law. What I really feel about
Okay.
that is you should never, in fact, resist learning about other aspects of law. But there should be a way where you're, taking some inspiration or some intellect out of one area of law, because you can't really practice all areas of law. You can stick to, let's say, criminal law. There are multifarious aspects. You've got the
Yeah.
PEPSO, you've got the UAPA, you've got a lot of areas to practice in with respect to criminal law. Commercial law, you have a lot of
Mhm.
aspects, but you can always specialize in one, and that could come out
Yeah.
well for you. So I think that is how you need to have. In fact, in short, I think you need to have one particular aspect that you're really strong on, but your foundation should be clear about every other aspect which of law that you can work on.
Perfect. I think we have a question from Krishna again. How to take feedback after doing your work? All right.
Okay, okay.
How do you take
Again,
your
yes.
feedback?
See, what people do is that they send out an email on their last day about, I'm done with my
Mhm.
internship. I was great having everybody here. Great, thank you so much. That email. Preferably, that email should be sent 2 days before your internship ends, because then that gives the
Okay.
associates 2 days, or the people that you work with 2 days to think about what you've done, and 2 more days to get back to you, because you're again an intern for the next 2 days. After your internship ends, you're
Right.
not in a position to be an intern and an associate. You will be a lawyer and a law student. But then what those two
Mm-hmm.
days do for you is that they buy you time for that feedback. And how
Mm-hmm.
I go about it is that in my worksheet, or I maintain a diary where I put down what work has been given out to me by whom. And
Mm-hmm.
on the second last or the third last, in fact, my last week, I write them an email, a personalized email to every lawyer that I've worked with, asking them for feedback about that particular work or the number of propositions or deliverables that I have given out. So that also gives
Right.
them a clear cut idea. Okay, fine, I give this person this work, a simple one liner of
Mm-hmm.
how you could have improved, and that could be spread
Mm-hmm.
over a period of 2 days. And eventually, on the last day, you can thank everybody for their feedback, right in the morning, and that in fact buys you time for the entire day for the people who haven't given feedback to you to get back to you. So I think that really
Right.
is an important aspect as well. A little hack that I think works out.
Perfect. I think Yash clarifies that his question about specialization and generic is about the CV and the cover letter.
Okay, so
Is there something that you want to add in that aspect?
well, yes. If I'm interning, if I'm sending out an application to intern with the Chambers of Aman Lekhi, I will definitely not put out my achievements in the field of arbitration, because, of course, he doesn't really care about it. or if I'm, because he practices constitutional law and criminal law. Now, why would I overburden and put out a 3-5 pages CV just to include everything there? If I put everything relevant on my CV from to the place where I'm going to intern at, that really gives out one aspect where you will only get the team that you worked with, because even the HR would think कि इसको capital markets देंगे तो कुछ कर नहीं पाएगा, because he's only done corporate or commercial law internships. So in fact, that also puts out a great image that, okay, fine, this person's only worked in one particular aspect of law, so we'll allot him that particular team.
Yeah. Perfect. All right, guys. With this, we sort of conclude and close this conversation in a way that no more questions. But my last sort of a concluding question to you is that, do you have any closing remarks on a general note about this entire idea of internships, and from your experience, what do you think people can do in general to improve? Yeah, as a closing remark, what do you have?
Well, Kaustubh, I think people need to take, in fact, the first years that I believe who haven't even been to law school are being scammed by a lot of organizations who mushroomed in the pandemic.
Mhm.
Which in fact becomes very problematic, because there are people trying to take advantage of other people just for their vulnerabilities, and that in fact becomes a problem. There are. I mean, one of if a law journal is asking you to pay to be published, well, I think it's nothing but a scam, because that doesn't work out that way, my friend. It just doesn't. The person's basking
Right.
on your vulnerability of getting an article published just for the sake of getting published.
Mhm.
Um, but I think they just need to calm down and think about what all can be done apart from law when they're in your first year. I think first year of law school is where you can just think about getting good grades, because again, yeah,
Mhm.
that does matter at the end of the day. I mean, some of it definitely does. Um, so yeah, I think that's pretty much it. When you're getting sweet and good grades from easy subjects, it's better to grab them, because that is something that I couldn't do,
Yeah.
and I even think
Mhm.
back about and see how my scores in my BA subjects are less than what I'm getting in
Mhm.
subjects like competition law and ADR. So I think that is something that people need to
Right.
understand and imbibe.
Mhm. Perfect. Absolutely. And I think it is Pramita, Krishna, and Kavi have written thank you. And from me as well, man.
So
Thank you so
thank you,
much
Kaustubh.
for
Thank you
joining
so
me.
much for hosting.
We've been trying to schedule this for some time, but I've had the liberty and the privilege of having continuous conversation and interaction with you on Clubhouse, which by the way, everyone should join.
Exactly.
Join good clubs, follow Utkarsh, follow me. Both of us
In fact,
mostly
follow
end
the
up in the
One
same
Take
room.
Show for amazing content. In fact, the One Take Show could in fact be your ticket to an internship. In fact, you can reach out to the partners referring this particular show, and your insights or your questions are from things that you've put out, and I
Yeah.
think that works out.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much, Utkarsh.
Thank you,
This
Kaustubh.
episode I will try to put out everywhere. It was a really fun conversation, man. And I'm really happy that we did it. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for joining.
Definitely. Thank you, Kaustubh. Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Thank you. All right. Bye, Utkarsh.